Welcome to the Mental Health Bootcamp podcast.
Hello.
This is the podcast where 4 psychotherapists, 3 of us sitting in the same room in Canada, 1 of us sitting in a room in California, serve you cutting edge mental health knowledge. I am Dr. Ryan Howes, a clinical psychologist from Pasadena, California.
And I'm Dr. Brooke Lewis, a registered clinical counselor from the greater Vancouver area of British Columbia, Canada.
And I'm Joanna Boyd, psychotherapist from Port Moody.
Chris
Stalled
Boyd,
out there.
psychotherapist for Coquitlam.
I thought you were just gonna be like, ditto.
I know. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Just noting the fact that we haven't actually recorded a podcast for a month.
Yeah.
We released one a couple weeks ago, one of our Vancouver sessions, but here we are back again in full form. Yay! So good. Summer travel, summer events have kind of postponed us, but we're back in action.
Indeed. Yep.
To serve up some cutting edge mental health knowledge, right?
Yep.
Yep. All right.
Just respond.
This is great.
It's good. Good banter.
I know.
Anything happening in Canada here in early August 2022?
Crazy amounts. I can banter about my niece's cool job.
Ooh.
So my niece is 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I think you're allowed to start working at 15, right?
Yeah.
Not any younger.
Yeah.
And somehow it was passed along to her this like sometimes there's positions up here that are like government funded or supported positions. So the government's actually paying for her position at this company. But she's working at I guess it's considered like a raptor rescue.
Oh.
I think it's called. So there's like owls and eagles and like raptor birds that go there and need to be rehabilitated. And so her job is to like clean the cages and feed them and give tours to people. So she's telling us about this on the weekend. This is her first job, and it's like a 8-week position. And it's a nonprofit agency. So the government has funded a few positions for the summer for people to work there. And she was one of the lucky ones that got it. Isn't that a crazy first job?
That's pretty great.
That is a fantastic first job. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's like an owl that they're not going to send back. So it just like hangs out in the office. I forgot that owl's name, but it just like hangs out there.
Oh yeah, not even in a cage.
No, it's just like a pet almost, but not.
Just stares at people, big eyes.
Yeah. And she has to like feed some of the other ones like live mice. And she was saying some of them want to come in and like swarm and attack you. So you actually like have to hold up a garbage can lid to protect yourself because they're going to like swoop down while you're like throwing live mice into their cage. Stuff like that. And I was like, this is crazy.
Wow.
It's also crazy because she's like sometimes a little bit nervous about things. Like she really hates mosquitoes, but just like normal things. I'm like, but you're feeding mice to like bald eagles. She's like, yep, that's what I'm doing.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty cool.
That's a pretty cool.
Wasn't
job.
she feeding an owl or a eagle or something? And her colleague is supposed to be holding the garbage pail lid, but he got freaked out and went off.
He didn't even come into the cage.
Yeah.
He stayed in the hallway. And she was like, you're supposed to like protect us so I could feed them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to Google what kinds of birds are raptors because I'm not all that into
With
my
talents, things with talent.
ornithology. But yeah, it's birds of prey, really. Eagles, falcons, hawks, buzzards, osprey, owls, vultures. Yeah, that's amazing. So this is your first job. Go and hang out with birds of prey in an office. That's amazing.
Right?
That's great. Wow. That is pretty good.
Like it was pretty mind blowing. I don't know. I thought her first job would be like McDonald's. Well, maybe not McDonald's because she was pretty adamant about not working in like fast food, but or like Chapters. That would have
It's a
made
pretty
sense.
cool job. Yeah.
Michael's, but
Okay, lightning round here. First jobs, everybody, go.
like with a company,
I don't know. I mean, first
like
job,
not
where you-
babysitting,
not
mowing
just-
lawns.
yeah, like first job paid by a company, I guess.
Okay.
I was the evening receptionist at our counseling practice, so I won't count that. That was a high school job. A restaurant called Joey Tomatoes. So now it's called, they dropped the tomatoes, now it's Joey. So I worked in the kitchen, not like it too much. It lasted 3 months, and I got a new job after that.
I also was an evening receptionist at the practice, but other company wise, Bootlegger. It's a clothing company.
Bootlegger.
So
Ooh.
summer of grade 11. Yeah.
Nice.
After that was like the grocery store and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was White Spot, which is a family restaurant up here. So I started working there right when I turned 16, and I was there for like 7 years. Started as like the busser and then the hostess and then a server, and yeah.
Good
And
stuff.
you, Brian?
Well, I know that the rules are like you gotta be 16, I think, here for actual employment. But for some reason, the paper carrier job kind of snuck in under that, because I was 9 with a paper after school paper route, delivering in my neighborhood, delivering the Bend Bulletin in Bend, Oregon. And every afternoon, right after school, 3 o'clock, the papers would come and I'd have to deliver them, and then have to go and collect money from folks by myself, which was really weird. I think about that now, like, gosh, I would never let my 9-year-old do that these days, but maybe it was character building. I don't know.
Yeah, different time.
Yeah, my brother had a paper route, and I helped him out a lot of the time too. The Coquitlam Now, our local one, and we got paid like absolutely nothing. It was like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
$6 total or $5 total for delivering like 200 papers.
Wasn't it like 10 cents or like 5 cents?
Yeah, it was like well below minimum wage.
Oh, yeah, I was working 6 days a week doing this job, 2-3 hours a day, plus the collection stuff. And I think I would get about $90 a month. And I thought that was big money. I mean, it was many years ago. I was like, okay, great, I got $90. That was wild. Yes. But I retired from that. So
last year. Yeah.
Last year I stopped delivering the Bend Bulletin. That's right. Well, that is that's interesting. You guys, a lot of food service here, huh? A lot of kitchen work and grocery work and that sort of thing. That's cool. Well, that actually kind of lends well to our ambush topic. You guys ready?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Let's hear it. Shall we jump in?
Let's jump in. I get to be the ambusher this week. I have the topic. You don't. We've touched on something similar to this before, but I think this will be a different conversation. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
I'm sending the topic to myself. Here we go. The topic is laziness.
Oh.
What is laziness? What can we do about it? How do we distinguish laziness from other issues? So there's a story behind this, but that's the topic.
Good topic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Can we have a definition?
Yeah, well, we might have to come up with that. I mean, I think, of course, there's like a different dictionary definition, but I think as clinicians, I often, here's the story behind this, is I often hear my clients talking about, I'm just too lazy. I'm too late. And oftentimes it's people who are very highly accomplished and achieving people. And they're like, I'm just so lazy. I just need to do more. I need to push more. And sometimes there will be things that they're pushing aside, but I think maybe this whole conversation will be trying to define what actually laziness is, because I think there's some things that bleed into it. So, what do you guys think about this topic? Let's see what that.
It comes up a lot. Yeah. laziness, of course, has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
Often associated with like a lack of motivation. I have things I need to do, but I'm just not doing it. I'm frustrated with myself. So yeah, that term comes up frequently.
That's all kind of rolled in there, isn't it? Like being unmotivated or procrastinating, lazy. Sorry, that's our speaker that keeps beeping for the listeners. I thought it was dying in the battery, so I tried to plug it into the cord, and now it's beeping a lot. So we might just cut that.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we did talk about procrastination once upon a time, probably one of our earlier discussions. I think Joe brought it up. And I think it's related, but I actually think that procrastination is one of the things that people that kind of overlap with laziness, I think.
Procrastination. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll just show my cards here. Here's what I'm thinking about. When I'm working with clients and they talk about laziness, oftentimes I think they're talking about once we dive into what that laziness is, they might be saying, gosh, I've got so much to do at work and I'm not doing it and I'm so lazy, when actually they are burnt out, which I don't think is the same thing as actually being lazy. Sometimes people are in a pattern of avoidance, which I think is the procrastination thing. Like, this is just something I don't want to do in the first place. And it's not so much that I'm like lazy, but I just don't have any, like, it's painful or there's something really uncomfortable about it. And I'm trying to avoid that discomfort. And the other is that I find is when people are being a bit rebellious, right? Like, this is something that I should do, something that someone else is telling me to do, but I'm pushing back against it. I'm rebelling against it. And that looks like laziness too.
Yeah.
What do you
Well put.
think about that?
Yeah. No, I like that. So trying to find out the context of the situation, because it's, working with a client is often like trying to figure out what situations they're considered lazy. And then sometimes it's other people's perceptions of them, right? So I had a fellow in his early 20s and the parents came in and says, "You're so lazy, get up and do something, or go do this, or do your homework, or get a job," that kind of thing, right? So sometimes it's not even their perception of themselves, it's what other people think of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people could be given that label of lazy when they're actually pretty productive in some ways, just maybe not the ways the other people want them to be.
I hear too with people who are used to being busybodies, or individuals who are like, I don't have if they're not busy or if they're not doing a lot of stuff, they see themselves as lazy. So any downtime, like if they're sitting on the couch and they know that there's something to do, they got to do it. They can't just sit on the couch. It's so it's almost like they see, otherwise I'll be lazy, or that not doing anything for a while is a negative thing in that way as well.
It's like getting downtime.
Downtime,
They see that as laziness.
Yeah. Whereas, yeah.
That's a great point. People who like almost resist taking a vacation or taking a personal day or something like that. I can't do that because I'll be lazy then, right?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting too. So I consider myself a busybody, and as you were saying that, sometimes I phrase it where I say, "Oh, I'm taking a lazy day," but in a positive way, like, "Oh, but it, after you said that, it is actually judgmental." So I'm saying, "Hey, I'm taking a day of rest," and I'm going to use a negative judgment and call that rest lazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Versus a laid back or
Versus,
restorative day.
Yeah, a restorative day or a low key day or a downtime day. I say, "Oh, it's a well-deserved lazy day." I had to earn the right to sit and read a book for 2 hours. When I'm actually putting judgment on myself, right?
So are you saying then that laziness is a negative thing?
I think people use it as a negative thing.
Okay. But you notice for you, when you say, I think I'm using a judgmental term, calling it lazy, you see lazy as a
I think more often than not,
Yeah.
it's seen that way.
Yeah.
I had never really, I don't know. I think I saw it as more neutral when I was using it before.
Mm.
But as we're talking about it now, I'm thinking, gosh, maybe I'm using that in a negative way. Like,
Something to ponder. It might not be.
yeah,
I think I the lazy Sunday or the lazy, we just had a nice lazy
yeah,
morning. I think that could just, to me, I hear that as probably pretty laid back, and they probably really took their time with things, or they didn't really do much.
Yeah.
Or, but I think maybe laziness looks different to people depending on who you are.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes you've mentioned laziness, but I don't think it has necessarily negative connotation in those situations. It's
Mhm.
more of a sign that, hey, I've had a pretty busy, productive week. I deserve a lazy day. So, but yeah, context, I guess, is super important, right?
Mhm. Yeah, or that, yeah, the disclaimer, I guess that would get me, like saying it's a well-deserved
Yeah.
lazy day. Well, do you have to earn relaxation, or do you need to earn like a non-urgent day?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, this is the mental health podcast. So, yeah, we see the value in relaxation and in actually unwinding. I think when you're talking about laziness in that context, it's almost like a self-effacing thing, right? Like, oh, I was just lazy today. And you're kind of saying, oh, yeah, I was lazy this morning. I think it's still seen in a negative way, but you're like saying I treated myself with that decadent laziness,
Yeah,
Yeah. How you frame it, I guess.
like it's a real treat once in a while, but it's not a treat that would be helpful every day
Right.
for
Right.
me.
Yeah, of course.
Is
Yeah.
laziness, would we call it a feeling or a state of being?
It's good.
I don't know, like I'm feeling lazy. Is that because I'm just not, I'm feeling a bit like I'm slow to move, or is it I am lazy, or I'm being lazy?
Well, that's where I think it has a negative kind of like an actual negative connotation where you're actually, it's like your inner critic is telling you you're lazy, right? You're being lazy right now. And it's like kind of an insult, right? I'm so lazy. That's what I hear with my clients. I'm so lazy. Why can't I get this shopping done? Or why can't I do these chores around my house? I'm so lazy. And that's, I think it contributes to like the negative self-talk that some folks have, right?
Well, that's really interesting because I kind of, after your short discussion, think it would be more a state of being than a feeling. But and as a therapist, you would want to get to the feeling beneath that state of being, like, why can't I get these things done? I'm so lazy, or I'm being lazy. Sure. So what does that, is that you're tired? Like, what is the state?
Are you
under,
relaxed?
what-
Are you
yes.
just, like, you know?
What is that under, what is the feeling underneath it?
Yeah. Where I was
I like
mentioning
that.
too, like burnout as well. Like there's a
Right.
lot of different factors there that can lead to that, right? Yeah.
So again, we're going back to we're still trying to define this thing, right? So if we were to say a pure state of laziness, that's not influenced by these other factors, avoidance, rebellion, burnout, exhaustion, or relaxation even, but actually a lazy state of being would be something I think where someone is capable of doing something. They're able to do it. They have the time, they have all the resources necessary, but for probably selfish reasons, they're choosing not to. I mean, I don't know.
But are you using selfish in a negative way?
I guess I'm trying to put it in, trying to see what it is that we're talking about if we're talking about pure laziness.
Yeah. I liked what you mentioned about you're capable and able, but
Yeah.
you're not doing it, right?
And you have the resources.
Yeah. Resources, like you have things to do. You have a list of goals, but there's a disconnect. You're not executing. You're not following
Right.
through with it, right?
Right.
You're not engaging in life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is it temporary or is it long-term? Meaning like, I
Yeah.
don't know, you have to take the recycling in or something.
Yeah.
And that day it's on the list, you have the resources, you have the time, you're capable, and you just don't get around to it. And maybe you read your book instead or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the next day you take it in. So were you being lazy that day? Like sometimes things just don't get done that day.
Yes, maybe
Because
that's more
other things
procrastinating
get
or
done.
putting it off or forgetting about it or
Right,
yeah, kind of back to what's kind of causing that,
right.
that state.
Can you be lazy even if you don't have stuff that you're doing? Like, I don't know, like even if it's a weekend day and you've already done everything you need to, and you don't
Yeah.
fill your day with much, you're kind of, you might sleep in, you might just really take your time to move around. I guess I don't know. Can you be lazy? Like, I just felt lazy today, or I think sluggish, or I think just slow moving,
Or
or
you're
I'm not
just-
rushing.
Or downtime.
But yeah, do you need to have
day.
do you need to have stuff you're not doing in order to be lazy? I guess is my question.
I think so, but
Okay.
I think there's goals or tasks that are not getting done.
Okay.
And because you're in this state of laziness, right?
Okay.
It would be my take on it.
Yeah.
Like this.
But
But what does
dog?
that have to do?
You're not pointing at Joe, you're pointing at the
Protect
dog.
the house.
right?
yeah, but I'm not sure if it's selfishness though, because sometimes it doesn't impact anyone else. Like it's just kind of impacts you and your own personal goals.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right? It's not always about taking away from other people's needs or expectations. It could just be your own state.
Yeah.
I cheated and I just looked it up. And the definition given here is unwilling to work or use energy. And I think unwilling is the big part of it, right?
Okay.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah. So you're able to, you're capable,
You have the
you have the
resources.
resources, but you're unwilling to execute.
Unwilling to work or use energy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that different than like resistance or I'm thinking teenagers,
Yeah.
chores comes up a lot. Like, can you empty the dishwasher? Can you take out the garbage? Can you whatever? And it's like, I'll do it later. I'll do it later.
It could be laziness.
You know,
it could
is-
be multiple ways of
Yeah.
describing it. One of them might be laziness.
So would that would qualify then?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well,
Yeah.
there's-
Using
Or is that
definition,
like,
yeah.
you know,
I think
or does it have to be something that's coming from you? So if if it's a teenager and they have homework that needs to get done and they're unwilling to do it, to put the energy into it, they could.
Yeah.
Like there's no other mental health thing going on or.
I think that could be laziness as well. But it also could be procrastination. It could be a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Defiance or
yeah, I think the rebellious defiance thing, like with a teenager, having one of those right now is very helpful in my illustration here. But it's the rebellion is against me. It's not against the trash or the
Exactly.
right. It's an interpersonal thing. So it's like, no, and we as mental health people view rebellion in that age group as being like a way of trying to form identity and have autonomy and that sort of a thing. It's not always super malicious about, I hate my dad or something like that. It's like, I don't have to do things that you tell me to do. So I'm going to, see what happens. I'm going to see what the consequences are. And so again, it's not really so much about the task itself as it is, you're not the boss of me. I could say no if I want to, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess now that we work towards that definition, thanks to Webster's dictionary, I guess as therapists, we try to find out why that's happening, right? Like,
Exactly.
what's going on under the surface that is leading to that
Unwillingness.
right?
yeah. I guess that's just what I would start with. And I think it's what we often do in therapy sessions. Someone says, I am this. Well, what does that mean to you? And when someone says I am lazy, that's an identity. That's an identification thing, right? I mean, if that's the way they're presenting it to you, I am a lazy person. They're really identifying with this idea that they just are, like, that's part of who I am. Well, what does that mean to you? And what is that really all about? having a lazy Saturday morning is one thing, but being a lazy person is something different, right?
Yeah. I had a client today and he came in and he said, I just don't have that spark right now. I just don't, I'm having a hard time making it to the gym and doing the things that I need to do. So oftentimes he's unwilling to stick it out. He's unwilling to do the things he sets out, like the chores and maintenance and whatnot of his home. But yeah, he mentions, I don't have the spark versus I'm feeling lazy right now. So which was telling, right? Because I would say, yeah, laziness is a bit of a negative label, right? A perception or negative self-belief. I guess we've talked about that over the course of the podcast.
Or you hear that too with, I just don't have the motivation. I don't feel like it. Like, I it's interesting. This definition says unwilling. Whereas if you hear a lot of it in our therapy room, it'd be teenagers saying like, I just don't have the motivation, or I feel like I can't do it. And it's, whereas unwilling puts the ownership on, like, no, you're unwilling to do it. It's not that you can't do it. It's there's an ownership there in that definition of that laziness.
In which case, like, remember there used to be like the little sign can't, and then the little
Won't
act like it's X'd out, like a, you know, and therapists used to use that, like it's not, you're choosing not to, like really emphasizing that responsibility and choice. And so like, is that form of kind of tough love? Do you think that that would help in those circumstances? To say, hey, you actually can, like you are able, you're capable, you can do it, you're choosing not to.
Yeah.
I think sometimes teenagers take that and then it makes them feel profanity warning shitty, right?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful with that. I think there you got to kind of probably empathize or try to get them to feel like you understand their experience, but also try to be like, what are you going to do about it? You can't just wait for that motivation to come, or it's not, you know, you still have to take action and trying to help them realize that. And then if they realize it, actually do it, because
because you have to, if the train is stopped, you have to get the train moving again before it's full steam ahead.
There's often more to the story, right?
Totally.
Like maybe they're not super passionate about whatever it might be.
Maybe they're exhausted.
They're exhausted or fatigued.
They're not staying up. There's a new video game. There's trouble with friends. There's whatever.
I had a client I saw who's in college right now, and he procrastinates, and he's used that term lazy. I'm lazy. I just don't get it done. I put it off. And then we kind of delved into it a bit. And when he was in middle school, he's very smart, very bright, but he actually had to do a bit of homework for the first time. But all his friends would go game right after school. So his mom said, you cannot game until you're done your homework, right? So he would say, I don't have any homework. And then so he could game. But once he was done gaming, he would go up to his room quietly and do his homework, right? So one time his mom came into the room and got upset at him saying, you lied to me. You said you didn't have any homework, right? So it created a lot of friction there. And after that, he just didn't do his homework
at all.
So he would just try to do it at school and whatnot, but he would say he didn't have homework, he would game, and then he would just do something else. So connection was more important than homework, especially for this at that time in his life. So there's this pattern or habit that began back then, but because he was so bright, he got through high school, still cruised. But when he came to college, he struggled a bit because
he never learned those
skills, right? I kind of help provide that story there, right? Where those habits or behaviors, how those habits, behaviors were established.
That's a great story. I mean, it good really illustrates the point there, and it also illustrates the challenge of that parent-child dynamic there, right? Like, sure would have been better if they would have talked through the timing of this and like, okay, you can game because that's where your connection time comes, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out to be a very negative experience. And
then
he just said, no, I'm just not gonna do that. So
okay, so I think what we're sort of landing on here is if someone is, maybe a listener out there says, oh yeah, I'm pretty lazy, or I can be lazy, or I have been lazy, is to try to dig down another layer here and say, well, what does that mean to you? Like, what's really going on? because it might not be, the pure laziness of unwillingness. It might be a rebellion or an avoidance or just something that's not a good fit. I've known folks who, sign up for something, or they've got a certain major in college or something like that. And they're like, gosh, I'm just so lazy. Why am I not doing my homework? And diving a little bit into that, it's like, oh, I hate this subject. I didn't want to do this in the first place, or I felt dragged into it. So, so maybe maybe the task that you're procrastinating is something that you're procrastinating or lazy, is really not a fit for you in the first place. So just some poking around in there might be helpful.
Yeah, really investigating where is the unwillingness coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
And whether or not life choices need to be, like other choices need to be shifted, because the unwillingness I'm just thinking about, again, younger clients who kind of get zoned out if they're checking social media, gaming on Snapchat, TikTok, or adults. TikTok seems to be a real time sucker, but their energy kind of gets wasted somewhere else. It gets sucked out of them, and then they're not able to do the things that they actually need to do for themselves. Not saying that's always the case, but I think we have to investigate, like, where is the unwillingness coming from? And is it because there's something else that is like trying to grab your energy?
For sure. Yeah. So that investigative work, like, are you lazy or procrastinate with all subjects, or is it just one of them? Is it, or other facets of your life? Are you actually really dialed in and put a lot of effort into it? So trying to find some contradictions there.
Exactly.
How long has the pattern lasted for? So has it been just recently, or did it kind of start in elementary school or middle school or whatever it might be? So just trying to kind of make sense of it a bit, right? Because that will help you kind of focus on what the solution might be.
I want to throw in and add one little bit here too, which is that as far as mental health and mental illness issues, and that a lot of this could be masked by that as well. If someone had a really debilitating anxiety, for example, and they're like, oh, I need to call these people to make plans for something, but they're really anxious about talking on the phone. I mean, it might be an anxiety problem more than a laziness problem. And also, as far as energy is concerned, the main symptom of depression is low energy. So if you're actually super depressed and have a hard time getting out of bed or making movements in other areas of your life, that could look like laziness, but you could actually be depressed.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind as far as other factors that might kind of be masking as laziness, right?
Yeah, I think if somebody's like internalizing it as part of who they are, like I am lazy, opposed to often people just speak that way, but if they truly believe me as a person internalized, I am lazy, I think often there's something else going on there. Versus I am being lazy, that's a temporary state, and we all are lazy at some point.
Yeah.
So that could be a clue that it might be maybe
something more,
or something else going on.
Yeah. Or I'm being more lazy than normal, or I'm, listening to that language, I think is important, and helping them with that language to say, no, you as a person are not lazy.
It could just be part of it could be something like depression, or it could just be part of their negative self-talk.
For sure.
Like one of the many things that might say to themselves each day, right?
Yeah. Worked with another client, and he says, I'm lazy. And but what it actually ended up being is he's a bit of a perfectionist. So he was aiming for like 96% average in his courses. And if he wasn't able to get that, then he was pretty brutal to himself, right?
That he wasn't doing the work he needed to do to get to the 96. So therefore he's lazy.
So
and you're like, you're actually hyper productive.
Yeah. So of course that impacted how we proceeded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So investigative work a bit there, trying to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because if the definition is about unwillingness and difficulties with energy to complete whatever it might be, we have to take a look at the goal of what they're trying to do. And is that goal actually achievable?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're right. You might not have the energy to get 97% or the willingness. Like that's
Because it's unhealthy. It's
that's
not
okay. Exactly. You're
unrealistic.
genuinely not capable. Like that's not, yeah, that would be bad for you.
Yeah.
Like maybe the laziness is a protective strategy to calm you down.
Yeah. Or back to the burnout.
I don't
right?
know.
You know, burnt out. You're just not
Yeah.
able to do it.
Exactly. Kind of like Vivek Murthy, when he talked about loneliness being a signal that we need to reach out, is laziness actually a signal to say you need to slow down?
Mm.
Oh.
Whoa.
Whoa.
This is
Wow.
what happens when we don't have a boot camp in a month.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Little tidbit of info is up there. It's like, this is it. This is the
This is
time.
my moment. I was thinking about it all night, just like hoping for this moment, and it just played out.
But let's say that again, Brooke. That was really good. Maybe laziness or the fear of laziness is a signal.
No, so Vivek Murthy,
Yeah.
in his book Together, that was the name of the book, right?
Mhm.
Said that he proposed that loneliness is actually like a bodily signal that we need to connect to others, such as if you are feeling hunger, you need to eat. If you're thirsty, you need to drink. If you feel lonely, you need to connect. And so what I'm proposing is, what if laziness is actually a body signal saying you need to slow down?
Mm.
Yeah.
What we often
Yeah.
tell ourselves is the exact opposite of that, right? Like if I'm lazy, that means I need to get my ass in gear and get moving on something. But you're saying maybe it's actually the opposite. Maybe we need to reduce the demands on ourselves, or the expectations. Maybe it's not 96%, maybe 81% is good enough, that sort of thing.
I think it's almost like a little beeper that the battery, like there's something here that needs to be paid attention to.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Like our
It's
speaker.
not necessarily, yeah, like
Like
there's,
our speaker.
yeah, there's something, whether, yeah, the slow down could look different. It's a slow down and ask yourself, how am I doing? And maybe something's going on here that's a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the resistance could actually be your subconscious mind, right? Being like, you need to stop, and you can't keep going like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like a lack of synergy or
Yeah,
something. Is it
You're out of
disconnect?
balance.
Out of balance. Yeah.
that's great. That is boy, that just flies in the face of a lot of American culture. I don't know if it's the same, probably pretty similar in Canada, but like you said it before, maybe on this podcast, but in the States here, busyness is the most socially acceptable pathology that we have, right? Like it's a pathology we wear as a badge of honor. Oh, I'm so busy. Look at how busy I am. Look at, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm too busy, right? And we love that here. And if someone were, feeling lazy, and that's just a sign that I need to actually slow down and cut things back and streamline my life a little bit. I think it's an important message, but boy, that's going to be hard for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah, I think we do have it here, maybe,
Yeah, I think so.
to a different level. But between the two countries, I think recently there's been a bit of kickback from younger generations about like that term, the grind.
Yeah.
Where you have to like grind it out in your early years, or like work super hard to get this like level of whatever. And there's been more and more pushback towards that, right? To say, no, we're not going to do that.
I'm 15. I'm not working with raptors.
Unless you're my niece, then you will absolutely work with
Yeah.
raptors.
Especially those velociraptors. It's so dangerous,
The
we get you.
velociraptors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. That's
Yeah. Just on a random side note, because my head just went like, boop, kind of related, kind of not. It was on the spider web, I guess. But just thinking about American, Canadian differences a little, and like that busyness, or like, dare I say, ego, the tooting your own horn, like you walk into a room and you get to know each other. We were at a wedding recently, and it was interesting. Not one person that I didn't know anyone there. So everybody's brand new and you're having all these small talk conversations and getting to know everyone. Not one person asked, what do you do for work?
Which was nice.
Isn't that neat? I was like, I don't know if that would happen where you are, Ryan.
But I
Well, it
think
usually
that happens here, though.
as well. a lot.
Yeah, often it does, but I thought that was really interesting that it did not,
Yeah, which is
I did
cool.
not ask it and nobody asked it of me. And I was new to everyone.
It was unusual for
Yeah.
us to experience that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
often-
yeah,
We're work centric, right?
Mhm.
Seems to be a
That's a-
default. Anyways.
that is a pretty
Yeah.
common get to know you question here. What do you do? What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I like what some people, including the minimalists, they talk about, instead of asking that question, just asking like, well, what are you passionate about? What are you,
Yeah.
what are you most excited about in your life?
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's especially relevant for the youth, because youth are often referred to as lazy, at least a lot of
Yeah.
the clients I meet. But if you like, again, a lot of client stories today. One fellow is lazy when it comes to English work and math work, but when it comes to mechanical work, he is top of his class. Like he's often like kind of like a teacher's assistant. He's so good at it, right? So is it laziness, or is it just kind of a lack of interest, right?
Right.
So
it's
I think at that
deeper
age,
issue.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
at that age, you want to connect, you want to develop strong connections with peers. You also want to, you gravitate towards your passion. You want to find something you're good at.
Yeah.
And when you have that synergy, then things get easy and the effort is there, right?
Yeah.
But oftentimes you don't have a say in terms of the courses you take, right? So it could be a bit of a grind for a lot of youth out there.
I do wonder, Ryan, I don't know if you know about like laziness studies across cultures, just as we're talking about this and how busyness is important, or how common these questions are. What do you do for work, or whatever, where do you go to school? I'm curious. I wonder if other cultures who aren't so focused on that, if they really use the term lazy, or if the term lazy is different to them, or if people feel that way or identify with the term as much as they do here. Like, I don't know, but I'm curious about that.
I don't know.
suspect that more collectivist cultures, where it's more focused on the community and going out and working together and doing things, I suspect there'd be less laziness. Just
Or
throwing
they
it out
would
there.
feel less lazy, or that they wouldn't identify or use the term. I'm also thinking about, we had a First Nation speaker come talk to us at a retreat. And she was talking about how part of the culture of getting the community back to kind of their ancestry and tying back into beliefs and how they operate, but everyone has a role and everyone has a job and everyone has a purpose in their community, and you need to provide that. And I'm curious, in that context, if somebody knows that they have this clear role and what's expected, like, is there laziness to that? Is there unwillingness to that? Is there, anyways, it's got me thinking.
I think all human beings, we have an aptitude for certain behaviors or certain tasks, right?
Yeah,
And either the aptitude is enhanced or not, is
Yeah.
based on opportunities and
Sure.
mentorship and
Right.
whatnot, right?
right. But
So-
if you like are aligned, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, and you're
Yeah.
aligned and that's your purpose and that's how you give back and feel connected to your community,
That
do
could
you
be
think
huge.
that community then uses that term laziness
Yeah.
as often? Because it's with us, or I'm just thinking, if I were to think about myself, sure, I go to work, but then I come home, and so my purpose might be helping people healing at work, but then I'm going to come home and I'm going to mow the lawn and wash the dishes and blah, 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 blah. And if I don't do those things, I'm lazy,
Yeah.
but I've already served my purpose in the
Yeah.
grander scheme of the community.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I'm curious about that, or the expectations our culture puts on us.
No, I agree. I suspect that term is probably not used too often in those circumstances. Because if you have a natural aptitude and that's fostered and supported and gives you
Yeah.
a sense of achievement and accomplishment, then you're contributing to the well-being of your family and community.
Yeah.
And that's what
You've-
well-being is all. That's a huge part of well-being, right?
And
Finding
you've
meaning
served your
purpose.
purpose for the day.
Yeah.
But if you don't get around to folding the laundry and like the
Yeah.
chores stuff, which I think a lot of the laziness labels come to that, is like that daily life maintenance chores. Is that culturally put out? Like,
Yeah.
where is that coming from if you've already served your purpose to your grander community and world?
Yeah. No, good point. I'll have to ask.
I don't know what I haven't done any research on the cultural stuff, but I just think of like people in Spain, right? You work in the morning, you come home, you take a siesta for a while, you go back to work for a while in the afternoon, stay up kind of late, work a 30-something hour work week, take a month off every summer. Like there's just much better work-life balance kind of built into a lot of other cultures, a lot of other countries. And I would imagine, I don't know, just off the cuff, I would say laziness probably isn't so much a term or derogatory in any sort of way. They value that balance, relaxation.
They probably, I would assume, I don't know, but I would assume that they might have a different word for that state that doesn't have the same connotation that it does here.
Yeah. But I think
there might just be a different word completely.
Yeah.
Because it would be an unwillingness to do something because they've already done it. So it might just not be used at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's not a thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think if the norm is busyness, then of course there's going to be more laziness because the standard is so high and it's so celebrated. But a lot of cultures, especially within the course of evolution, like you work really hard, you work together, but there is also a lot of downtime and connecting and eating together and whatnot, right? So I don't think anyone would refer to that as laziness. It's kind of the flow of the day, and you can make a pretty strong argument that flow or rhythm is healthier for us than the busyness of other cultures, like maybe down in the United States or Canada, right?
I feel like COVID showed a lot of us that we don't need to be as busy, right? Remember when the world stopped, we're like, whoa, we were like doing everything and busy and we all of a sudden we're not, and we're able to take a slower pace and really conserve energy. And it was like, this is interesting. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And now that everything's opening up, I mean, personally, I feel urgent often. Like there's so many things to do all the time. There's an urgency to do them all, an expectation to do them all. It seems like really fast when it was the norm prior.
Okay, so now we're talking about the fact that not only might this concept of laziness be kind of overblown, it actually might be the healthier route. It might be our bodies and our souls telling us we need to slow down and maybe realign our lives in some ways, right? Maybe we're pathologizing something that's actually healthy.
And I think there could be a slowdown there, but I think it also is just a signal to look for something behind it. Yeah. Like I know I've definitely struggled with laziness before, and it might not have been doing too much, but it could have just been that I was, there's things I was there's stuff going on there. I was avoiding stuff. There's other feelings there, or I may have felt like there was too much to do, whether or not I was doing it, whatever. So a slowdown or just an indicator to stop and look, maybe.
Is it possible that someone's just lazy?
Maybe. I know. Are we overthinking it?
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. Yeah, the Freudian term there.
Well,
I've worked with people too, and I know some people in my social network who maybe, just possibly, they're just feeling lazy and they just need some external motivation, or it's more of the behavioral stuff that can get them going, right?
Yes, and I would say that.
I think it's actually you, but.
I would say that's where, like in the area of procrastination, avoidance, if it is something that is legitimately something that has to be done, and you will be better off for doing it, suffering a little bit of pain right now instead of a long-term pain later on, then there are times when, you just kind of got to kick yourself in the butt and say, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
I've got to do my tax. I hate doing my taxes. I try to procrastinate. We've talked through this in the procrastination podcast, but like, sometimes you do just have to say, all right, this is going to be painful for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to make the best of it, do it, put on some music, do my work, and try to struggle through it and get it done. Right.
For sure.
That was another interesting part of the pandemic, actually, is I heard a lot of people like through social media and stuff talking about how oh, there was this one thing that I had to do and I put it off for 6 months and then I did it and it took me 5 minutes and I'm so glad I did it, you know?
Yeah.
The amount of suffering that people go through being reminded of this. And that's what it is so many times when you're procrastinating. Oh, I should fold my laundry. I should pay my bills. I should do all these things. And even when you're saying that you're relaxing and, you know, binging something on Netflix instead of doing that, you're not fully relaxing because it's in the back of your head going, you should be doing me. You know, you should be taking care of this thing.
Not me.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
It's not you.
No.
It's not
I'm not saying it's a healthy thing, but I'm able to not do anything knowing that there's a lot to do. But it's
In some facets of your life.
in some facets of my life.
Others you're dialed in and you work extremely hard.
Sure. But I also know, you know, it can build up and I realize, you know, I got to get stuff done and I'm not, whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely not one of those people who, if there's laundry to do and I haven't done it, I can easily binge watch a show and not feel bad about it. It's not the healthiest thing. I think it's not a good thing.
That's a great example because to me, I'm like, that's hilarious because you're at home anyway.
I know.
Like
I could be doing my physio stretches
but
while I watch TV, but
the
I
washing
don't.
machine is washing the clothes.
I
Like
know.
you just have to hit the
I
button.
know. It's all little things. It's all things.
But also,
I could be a
also-
case study for everything. Procrastination.
but we're also talking to a woman with a master's degree who's running a business with dozens of people. I mean, you're very motivated
Accomplished
and capable and
and-
competent
yeah.
and accomplished and all that stuff. So it's like maybe it's just like the small stuff is you don't sweat the small stuff. It's the bigger things that you want to tackle.
I think that's true.
Yeah, just figuring out balance and anyways, I know there's more to it, different things, but anyways, yeah.
We won't make this all about you, Joe.
No.
Because you're not lazy. See, if you were to say I'm a lazy person, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Look at all that you've done, you know? So that's why this is
I can be, but anyways, this is not, but I just think it's interesting. Yeah. I think I wouldn't say it's a defining feature, but I definitely can be lazy for sure. I think anyone can be, obviously. So it's not, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Can be or can feel. Even, you know, you might be juggling 300 things, but you feel like you should be doing 301 and then you feel like you're lazy, right?
Yeah. What's the book by? Is it James Clear? Power of Habits? Is that the Good Habit book?
That's James Duhigg is The Power of Habit.
Oh, okay. There's another habit book as well, but that was James Clear. But yeah, there's some good books out there that can help you establish habits when it comes to some.
James Clear is Atomic Habits, isn't it?
Atomic Habits. That's
Just
one.
gotta read it.
Yeah, you just have to read it.
Yeah.
You just have to read it. Yeah.
It's kind of getting the tools, but doing the work.
Yeah, I think I
Gotta
liked
do
it. Atomic Habits. I thought that was well written. Yeah.
Yes. If you're going to choose between the two, go with Atomic Habits. It's great. It's great stuff to talk about. Not just, it's about developing systems and routines in your life that will help you to accomplish things. And that's where the good habits come from. Like you already have a morning routine, add a couple things to it and make your life more productive by just kind of having a regular routine. Yeah, it's great stuff. Okay. All right. I think we've exhausted this topic. This was not a lazy podcast. Everyone was working really hard.
Lots of different directions.
But I'm unwilling to conserve any more energy or to give any more energy to this topic. So.
Okay, now laziness will begin. We will end for the night. And I guess that'll be it. So like and subscribe wherever you find podcasts and join us again sometime in the future. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Beep, 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 beep.
Beep.
Goodbye.